Okay, so welcome to our last session. There is an expression in Norway saying that you save the best part to the end, and in Norwegian it is rosinen i pølsa. And actually, the expectations I have to the last session is quite high, and I hope that you also will feel at the end that you got something that you didn't know about, because now we kind of look abroad. In the last session, we talked about new models, new business opportunities, new ideas. Now we look at companies outside Norway that we maybe have not heard about. Some of you have heard about Octopus Energy. It's an extremely interesting company with a different business model. It's the fastest growing energy company in Europe. Started out in UK, have 25% or something in UK in a very short period of time, and now they're expanding to 18 countries in Europe, also going to Denmark. And they started selling electrons. Now you can lease your electric car through the energy company. So it's a completely different model. And there are some other interesting companies that Nicolas A Hall from Eola Consulting will tell us about. And then after, he will introduce Nina Møger Bengtsson, coming from Kraken, because the technology platform behind many of these solutions is actually powered by Kraken. So register the name and do your best to understand what they talk about. And if you do not understand, actually come up with your questions. Any kind of questions is allowed with us. So don't hold back. Nicolas, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, that's true. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to raise an arm. I'm open for questions during the presentation. I'm Norwegian. I've been asked to do this in English, so I'll do this in English. Nina will do it in English to make sure everyone can listen in what's going on. So I'll be talking about innovative customer acquisition and lock-in strategies. And I've moved down to the B2B, the B2C market when it comes to electricity contracts, users, the energy system of the future. So just quickly of Eola Consulting and who I am. So I worked for 25 years in the energy and power sector. 6 months ago, I established a company called Eolas, which is my own company. And within 6 months, I've been working for these companies here on the right-hand side, mainly split into 4 segments. So very classic OEM contracts, OEM consultancy type of hardware companies who are in a situation where they have recurring cost. Recurring cost is something that they really don't want too much of. They want to move from recurring cost to recurring revenue. So I create and assist them in creating business models for this sector here. These are classic consultancy companies that I assist or act as a catalyst or an industrial advisor or an expert, where I then assist these companies who then maybe assist these type of companies, or maybe also energy companies like Nova. But also then you have angel investors and PE companies wanting to buy into companies like this. So I then act as also their industrial advisor, their energy power expert. But I'm going to start off with some terminology first. The meter ID, I'll be spending some time on getting you to understand what that actually is. It's really important that you understand a terminology called the race for the meter ID. Octopus, later on, are best in class when it comes to the race for the meter ID. It's a terminology I introduced around 2 years ago. It's a race because it's all about the first company, the first platform, the first someone to register the meter ID owns the potential behind that meter ID. It might be a battery, it might be an inverter, it might be an EV charger. Any adjustable load behind that meter ID is then controlled by the owner of that meter ID. An example from UK when I worked for Easy, we wanted to register around 10,000 chargers into the flexibility market in UK. So what you do then, you have the correct address, you enter these 10,000 addresses into a market, you get then back that 10% of those addresses were already pre-registered by Octopus, meaning that those assets that we wanted to add into the market to move away from recurring cost to recurring revenue, because you need to maintain those charges, it's around €1 per month per charger, remains then as a recurring cost. There's no chance for you then to move from the recurring cost situation that you have on that charger to a potential recurring revenue potential, because that meter ID is owned by someone else. That's why there's a race for the meter ID. Behind and in front of the meter ID, behind is all about asset optimization. It's all about lowering your energy bill. There's not a lot of money in doing that. If you want to make money, if you want to partner with the right companies, you have to be in front of the meter. You have to start discussing revenue sharing. The margins here are very small. And who is best? Who does this? Of course, you have then the B2B companies like Nova, who was now bought up by Trill. I mean, obviously, they want to move a company from being a B2B company to move left. All major movements of companies who are successful, i.e. best in class, are moving left. You don't find very many companies who are either B2C or B2B only. That's not going to be the success of the future. Those companies who are willing to move left, they will win. Companies who stay as is, they will lose. Because this is a nice place to be. You have your margins on your kilowatt hours, but the bigger money is from over here. It's what the grid operators, TSOs and DSOs, are willing to pay for your flexibility. Instead of having to build the power grid, which might take from 5 to 15 to 20 years, they are willing to pay for your flexibility. And that goes through the meter ID. That's why it's so important to own the meter ID. So the best-in-class companies, where are they? You see Fortum, Swedish, they are moving towards left with partners, Hyven. Drax, they just bought Flexitricity. If you heard about that, a Scottish company, like Kraken. So Drax is a classic B2B company. They have now bought Flexitricity. Vattenfall in Sweden, they also have a power generation over there. Andel in Denmark, they have a partner called Twig. And they also have insulation and fiber. So they are a classic B2C company, but moving into B2B with this segment. And Octopus with Kraken is also all over the value chain. So that is the future. If you are an energy company today, you have to move left. And why is that so massive? Why is that so important? The MFFR market is worth around 6 to 8 billion NOK in 2027. And that's the reason why you see Tibber, who is on a B2C, they want to move left. They want to move into the segment which today is controlled by Statkraft and Hydro. So when Statnett buys 6 to 8 billion NOK from the MFFR market, of course Tibber wants their share of that market. It's obvious. And right now they don't have a share in that market. Octopus is moving into Sweden. Very soon you'll see Octopus and Kraken in Norway as well, for sure. Because that market is too big not to move into. Okay, so what do best-in-class companies do? Okay, it doesn't look nice when I sent it. It now has been moved around a little bit. Best-in-class companies, they have a platform. Tibber has a platform that looks 80% of this. So this is what they do when they create a platform. They integrate to the energy market. They integrate to installer and user journeys. They integrate to HEMS, which is Home Energy Management Solutions. They integrate to co-sharing integrators. They use other companies, sub-companies, to create other partnerships. Renewables and industries. Destination charging is also a new wording, a new segment. As cars have longer and longer ranges, you would tend to charge at home or at your destination. There's not going to be a lot of charging in between. So companies like UnoX, Circle K, they are facing a challenge to get customers to come to their stations because charging will be from A to B, more than A in between and then to B. Then the whole ecosystem is also a quite complex picture. If you understand that, you are in good shape. The regulatory you need to understand, but also the payment and billing. There's lots of things that you need to do. Octopus, 95% of this. Tibit, 8%. If you don't have this on your roadmap and you are an energy company, you need to start talking to someone who understands this picture and figure and create your partnerships. Because there's no way you can do all this yourself. Creating a platform like this is going to cost you 200 million NOK. You don't want to spend that type of money if you can partner with someone and then do revenue sharing. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to explain this. A lot of us, when we configure our home energy management system, our charging, our batteries, inverters, everything which is behind the meter ID, we go into the app and we do something. We configure when we are leaving, when we're going home, etc. The new stuff now is all about nudge. So what we see is that we want the apps to say, hey, Nick, I see that you are leaving on Friday at 1600 hours, 4 o'clock. Do you want me to make your car fully charged by 4 o'clock? Yes or no? That is nudging. So the old way of configuring is going away. The new way of nudging is coming in, i.e. you want your app to be connected to your calendars, your behavior, but all that is down to user consents and T's and C's and privacy policies. You have to understand the whole customer journey, the installer journey, to be able to provide a platform and nudge on preferences to meet the market demands. We've also mapped the regulatory. So if you are in the segment of charging or home energy management systems, you need to understand how all this works, who does what, who's doing what. A good example is Project Mercury, a project initiated by Octopus. Very smart, again. I call it innovative, slightly aggressive customer lock-in, customer acquisition strategy. Because that is all about home energy management. It's all about how batteries and solar panels and inverters and chargers work together to become a standard. And who's running that project? Octopus. And if you're not part of that Project Mercury regulatory understanding, if you don't understand what they're doing, you might lose out once the protocols which this project defines. So it defines which batteries can talk to each other, which inverters can talk to each other, which EV chargers can be part of this. If you're not part of that discussion, you lose out. And if you lose out, you're not part of tomorrow's energy system. Okay, just an example. So why is this so important? So what happens and how do you become part of this future energy race? It all happens when you buy something new. So when you buy a new load, you want that load to be part of a software system. So buying a battery or a charger or an inverter tomorrow, you don't want that to be a standalone system or standalone product. You want it to be part of something bigger, a system. So when you buy all these load balances, solar panels, chargers, and batteries, you want all this to be part of what we call it a sweet spot optimizer. You want to be part of a software system. So all these three boxes, hardware, software, energy contract, have to work together. You will not survive if you work by yourself. You have to understand how all these three work together and create partnerships. Only those who understand that will grow and survive. That's what I say here. Why? Because it should be viewed as a possible load earning revenue for platform providers and users. So every purchase that you do should be viewed as the suppliers of these systems as the customer acquisition opportunity. So every time you buy an inverter or an EV charger, the one selling the charger should not sell you a charger, it should sell you a system. And those who understand that, again, will win the energy system of the future. So the trends our system solutions, sweet spot optimizations, 24 access, 7 access to the market, and very aggressive customer lock-in strategies. Octopus, world's best company on this. Offer free good tariffs, partnerships with cars, with chargers. And why? Because the future is all about revenue sharing. It's not about selling chargers and solar panels. Even companies like 1,5 in Germany, they give away solar panels. It's not where they make the money. They give away chargers. A charger today might cost you 10,000 NOK. You can make 10,000 NOK per year on revenue sharing from that. So if you are a manufacturer of a charger, you can sell it for 10,000. You could almost give it away for 10,000 as well, because you make 10,000 NOK from revenue sharing from the flexibility market. And imagine what happens then to the market when you start giving away chargers for 50% discount or 25% price of what you have. Those who have access to the market will very much win those who don't have access to the market. So what do best-in-class energy companies do? They start here. Best-in-class customer journeys start all the way to the left. It starts when these companies have a customer who buys a charger, a boiler, inverter, a battery, etc. That's where best-in-class companies start. Those with sleeping revenues, those who are going to lose, they start at the customer. They approach the customer and say, hey, do you want to be part of us? We would like you to be our client, our customer. You might win, but you might lose half a year later. When our customer realizes that the battery you bought or the EV charger that you bought is not part of a system, it's a product. So the transition starts with the installer, because that's the first step where the customer meets the installer. The hardware has to be installed by someone. So it starts at the installer, and that's where you do all the GDPR, the correct address, the meter ID, the T's and C's. You are now buying an IoT product. Previously, you bought a charger product. Now you're buying an Internet of Things charger. It's connected to the net, i.e. you need to change the T's and C's. You might need to change if it's 4G or Wi-Fi. 4G has a cost, Wi-Fi is free. But in the flex market, Wi-Fi is not accepted. You have to have 4G because of cybersecurity, user consent, grid rewards, etc. So a transition then over to Octopus Energy. So just a quick thing here first. So first step, if you want to win the race, start with the installer. Don't think that you're going to win the race if you start with a customer. You have to start much, much earlier if you want to win the race of the customers. So last slide before we give it over to Nina. This is Octopus. It was founded in 2015. In only 10 years, it's grown from nothing to $9 billion in valuation. This white curve is Octopus Energy. It's because they have I call it innovative, sometimes also aggressive, but they have fantastic customer acquisition and lock-in strategies. And you have to look to them. Also suggest you just look to 1,5 in Germany, Tiber as well, maybe as well. Those 3 companies are so far ahead. And if you now remember about all these loads I just mentioned to you, buying a load is also about getting the customer on board to a system or platform. So what has Tesla done? They've sold cars, they've sold chargers, and they've sold solar panels. What if you were Tesla? What would you do then? Would you do something more than just selling chargers and batteries and solar panels? Would you then want to become an electricity company? Of course. And that's exactly what Tesla has done. Last year, they approved to become an energy company in UK. And the expectation is that by Q2 or Q3 this year, they will be approved as an energy company in competition to Octopus. And why? Because there is no money in behind the meter asset optimization. There is no money in selling just products. The money is to the left of the meter ID. And to be part of that, you either have a platform or you need to be an energy company. Questions before we give it to Octopus and Kraken?
Yeah. Oh, he left. Okay. Two very short questions. First, very good presentation. And first question is that it's always been in the roadmap of Tesla of being this, but they just, because it's always been in the hardware assets to support doing this, and also with their charging stations and everything. So and the bidirectional inverters in the cars and everything. So it's definitely, they've been talking about this for many years, but I guess
it makes more sense now that you understand what's been going
maturity. On. But second question was, like you say, it's the race for the power ID, but how
meter ID.
Meter ID, sorry. But how do you ensure that you don't put the actual owner of the meter ID in a very hard situation? Like, for instance, I have Tibber at home, and I don't think about that, but Tibber now has a very strong lock-in because I don't want to change the hardware. So at some point, maybe Tibber gets bought by some private equity company or something, and they just ramp up the regard. So how do you make sure that you still democratize the actual ownership of the assets for those who actually own the actual owner of the meter IDs? Like, are there any discussions around that? How do these companies ensure that they don't get a too strong lock-in on the actual customer?
I don't think there's any regulation on that today. There is no. How can you stop someone having full control of your house or asset or loads? It's up to you. If you want to change from Tibber to someone else, that's your choice. And if someone comes in later and sells you some other hardware, and you think that, okay, this company, electricity company A, B, and C over here, they might have a better offering that you want instead of Tibber, you can change. But I think that in the future, very few people will change from Tibber, Octopus, Kraken platform or 1.5. Why should you? You're getting chargers for free, solar panels for free, getting tariffs for free, your charging is for free. Why would you want to change? And the point is that grid rewards, which Tibber has today, which Kraken also has, I've seen the numbers, I know what the numbers are. The money that we get as users is minor, very, very small. There's no open book calculations on how much Kraken or Octopus or Tibber gets. And that is huge numbers that they get paid from the grid to be flexible. The numbers that we get as users is very, very small.
Yeah, I think that was my point exactly, because if there is no transparency on that, because I know there have been talks of regulation to actually force them to open this so you can change so you will actually have an open market. Yeah. But maybe, I guess,
it's going to take a long time before that's open.
Yeah,
I've seen some discussions in EU about that. Another 5 years at least.